JOJOLands is finally out, with its first chapter having recently come out. This is super exciting because before part 9 was announced, I honestly didn't think there would be any more JoJo. I know he might not look it, but Araki's getting pretty old, so I wouldn't blame him for putting down the good old pen. Nevertheless, the first chapter of JOJOLands is out, and it was a meaty chapter, with there being 61 pages and a lot to go over. First of all, drum roll please. The 9th Joestar's name is Jodio Joestar. When the promotional art and leaks for this character first came out, I wasn't too sure how I felt about his character design, but this promotional picture of Jodio, and reading the actual chapter first, his design has really grown on me and I quite like it considering how his character acts. Before the chapter came out, there was speculation that this part's reincarnation would be either based on Giorno or Jolene, because of the braid in his hair, but now we know it is definitely Giorno, and I'll talk a bit about the contrast between him and Giorno later. I saw on Instagram that some of the Spanish JoJo fans were mad about his name, because his name means fuck or fucked up or something like that in Spanish. It isn't even a real name, but the contrast of Giorno is even in Jodio's name, since his name is literally a combination of Jonathan and Dio. However, it's kind of hard to see any Jonathan in Jodio, because this man is an absolute menace. He is an actual crazy person, and is probably the most morally grey JoJo in the series. Selling drugs to seniors, pushing people on buses, and prepping to steal with his Jo bros. I'm starting to get some Black Air Force energy off of him. As mentioned before, Giorno and Jodio are pretty much polar opposites. Giorno was a character who wanted to break the system that lived in Passione and be an all-around righteous person, and did not like his mother at all, with her being a complete deadbeat and a really bad mum. Jodio, however, is a character who only cares about becoming the next Bezos, and from what we've seen, he'll do stuff like stealing and selling drugs to get there. He also does all of this to help his mother, who he deeply loves, and she does actually seem like quite a nice person, compared to some of the other mums in the series. His stand is also really cool. It's called November Rain, and it's definitely one of the more bizarre oh my God! Looking stands within the protagonist field. From what Chapter 1 has shown us so far, it seems like he can control the rain that is produced from November Rain, which looks like it melts things and just deals a lot of damage. I can see a lot of cool things that could be done with this stand, and I'm excited to see what will be done. It's also pretty funny to me that Jodio is only 15, which is also the same as how old Giorno was, but this time it actually does feel like he is 15, since he is very temperamental and not a huge buff man who looks literally 30 years old. The first Jo bro of the series is, oh my god, an actual bro of a Joestar. It seems cool that one of the main characters is a brother of the main character. His name is Dragona Joestar, and it seems like Dragona is going to be the main mentor figure for Jodio. It's kind of funny how the main character of the series is getting nowhere near as much attention as Dragona, since there is a lot of confusion about whether Dragona is a guy who's in drag or a trans person, and the whole translation issues haven't helped the case a lot. Regardless, his introduction was kind of wild, because we thought it was a girl because, I mean, come on, look at him. And then a police officer puts his hand down Dragona's pants and finds out that he's a dude. And can you guess what this man says? This turns me on. This police officer is bringing out 120% of his cucklord abilities. This is also when we get introduced to Dragona's stand, Smooth Operator. This stand ability basically can grab and displace things, and it's been shown to do these things like on number plates, and oh my god, what has happened to your face? Yup, smooth operators can even displace body parts. This stand also added to the confusion of Dragona's gender, because it turns out that the driver's license that the police officer looked at was actually just a fake one, and Dragona's picture was just slapped right on that driver's license. So we don't really know, but then Jodio refers to her as Big Brother, so I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see really. I love the naming of the stands in this part, because they link with the stand's ability. You're a dummy if you don't get November Rain, but Smooth Operators changes things like Dragona's ID and number plates to get away with stuff, which makes its name so much cooler. Dragona's stand design also kinda reminds me of Mr. Stan's Sex Pistols. Keeping on the theme with the good JOJOLands characters, we have Parko Lovelantis, and we haven't seen an awful lot from him, but it's the first chapter, so what do you expect? His design is a pretty odd one, but this is JoJo, so it's probably pretty normal in this universe. But his whole thing is that he loves to steal, and his stand, the hustle, works incredibly well with his personality. His stand basically allows him to control his muscles expertly, making it so he can grab onto and hold things without having to use his fingers or hands, and can instead use things like his elbows, back of his hands, or his ears even. Since this part is going to be probably based around criminal acts, with their first mission of the series literally being to steal a diamond from a suspicious sounding Japanese person, I could see the stand coming in handy a lot. And then there is this man. I honestly don't even know what to say about Jodio Senior / hot dog guy. The only notable thing he has done so far is get bitched by Jodio on a bus and bought drugs from him. But it seems like he's not just going to be a side character, but a main part of the crew. He hasn't had a stand introduction yet, and as of right now he is a bit of a mystery, but he was barely even in chapter 1, and so I guess we'll just have to wait and see to learn more about him. In all honesty, I am kind of excited to see where Araki goes with this character, but holy god, he did not need to do this man so dirty with his hair. I mean, it is truly something to behold. Other than those four and Jodio's mum, the only other notable character is Meryl May Key, who is Jodio's boss and, less importantly, his principal, since I doubt Jodio is going to be doing much schooling. I've seen some people say that she could be the villain of this part, but I seriously doubt it, cause she seems like she has a pretty business-like relationship with the main cast, and she doesn't really give off that JoJo villain vibe, and the best I could see her villain-wise is more of a Polpo character. Every part in JoJo has a main theme, like gravity, the flow of calamity, fate, and this part's no different, and it is made very clear to be mechanisms. If you don't know what that means, I don't blame you. I also had to wait for him to explain, but Jodio's basically talking about the system we live in, like how we all go to school. Jodio is a punk who gets girls, whereas a smart kid probably has anxiety and isn't very popular. I love this theme because it is pretty much the polar opposite of Part 5's theme, where Diavolo had created a crime syndicate which was very much a perfectly well-oiled machine, and Bucciarati and his crew would openly defy and destroy the terrible system that was created, which Jodio seems to be embracing for the sake of the people he loves. This is also a concept that the main antagonist of the part will most likely try to exploit, and I don't know if Araki's made a secret Reddit account or something, but I'd put some big money on the fact that this is exactly what the main villain will say eventually. All in all, this was a really good introduction chapter, with there being enough intrigue to keep us going, but Araki has told us a good amount of things that we want to know. This part seems to be set in post-2020, since Dragona mentioned COVID and Jodio mentioned Dua Lipa, So it'll be interesting to see how Araki mixes things that are going on right now to things within the manga. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already read the chapter, I highly recommend it. And if you haven't caught up to it yet, then what are you doing? Do you not want to read peak fiction? Click off this video right now and read JoJo.